Okay. Thanks for coming, everybody. Good evening, and for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mike Jones, and welcome to the Inside News Candidates Forum. And Inside News is a nightly show that I do with Dale Matthews, who is also a candidate for Josephine County Commissioner position 2. However, he is only participating in this as a candidate with exactly the same standing as anybody else. I will be directing the format of this event. I will not be asking any questions or leading subject matter in any way. Each candidate will have up to 5 minutes to make their case, followed by a short opportunity for audience questions. You know, a couple of questions because we have to move on. There's a lot of people here to get out. When asking questions, please be concise and refrain from long statements. Once all the candidates have had their time, there will be an open question and answer period as time allows. Tonight in attendance, we have Dale Matthews, not Nathaniel Duarte. Is Nathaniel here? You got him listed on here. Yeah. Oh, I did not hear that. I did get an email from him saying he wasn't going to be here tonight. Number 2, Dan DeYoung. 3, Paul Walter. Harriet Harris, Joseph Rice, Sandy Casanelli, Ronald A. Smith, Mark Seligman, Shane Kristen, Raymond Smith, Bill Hunker, and David Martin's not here, is he? Okay. And Bill Ertl. Is Bill Ertl here? Yeah, Bill's here. Oh, good. Okay. Excellent. And the first victim that has been selected is Dale Matthews. I don't know how he pulled that one off. I guess he asked for it first or something. All right, Dale.
He pulled some strings. No, the first person on the list was Keith Heck, but he's not here tonight. I'm Dale Matthews. I was at the store today, and a little kid was having a bit of a fit, and his mother took off her shoe and hit him in the face with it. And I thought, this reminds me of county commissioners' meetings and the way we're sometimes treated by the people who are there. It's about time, I believe, for a change in our county, with the idea that, and this is my last complaint, for the rest of it's going to be solutions. Yes, I could talk about every candidate, including myself. You know I can, but I'm not going to do that. You want solutions. Last part is, we know what's been said at county commissioners meetings. We know we're breaking the law, and I don't care. It's the end of that time. I stand for no new taxes for 4 years. At least the first 4 years. We need a break. It's not that citizens can't put something on the ballot. Of course they can. But I'm going to stand against that. None of it for at least 4 years. And there's 4 candidates who feel that way that I know of. We just need a break, that's all. The other thing is we have a local constitution, the county charter. And in the local constitution, whether anybody likes it or not, especially the commissioners, it says, this was put on there by the people, you will be paid as a county commissioner no more than $30,000 a year. I only know of 2 people, that's Raymond Smith and myself, who have dedicated ourselves to taking what our local constitution says and no more. Now, if the state insists you must take more, I will take more. I will pay all the taxes on it, and I will give the rest to charity, except for the $30,000 that you've said. Now, if they want to change that, there's a way to change that. But nobody's wanted to change that one, and it's because the courts got involved, because the commissioners asked them to get involved. Really? No, I will do what the charter says, what the people have said. Public safety is obviously one of our very biggest issues, right behind trusting in county government, and there's a reason that we don't. Many reasons. You already know all of those. So the people have voted many times saying, this is what we want. This is what we are asking for. 9 times since the year 2000, the people have said, no, we don't want to go down that road. Now, I was just asked yesterday by a reporter from the Courier, well, what about the 46%? I said, when you go to a basketball game and one team gets 54 and the other gets 46, do the people with 46 go home with a trophy? Is that really what you want? Well, every time you lose, except one time you lose and you still get a trophy. That's not America. He just laughed. I believe it's very important to fund the sheriff's department. We need to do it the way the people have voted. Now, there are a number of people in this room, I'm sure, who have said, well, now, we need to give more money to the sheriff. Okay. And we need to undo the vote of the people. No, that's not okay. So if the people are foolish or brilliant, this is what they've decided that they want. This is where they're going. And so the people have voted, and you may disagree and I may disagree, we're going to give money to pets, to stray cats and dogs, but not to children. Really? I don't like that. But that's their decision. So who in this room would like to stand up and say, I disapprove and we're not going to do it that way? No, it's their vote. They get to choose. And I'm going to back them up on that, at least by not trying to negate their vote or go to the governor to get her to negate their vote. I don't believe in that. We should start every meeting with an invocation. We need all the help we can get. And every meeting will be in the Ann Basker Auditorium so that you can see what's happening. No more backroom meetings. I will not participate in these secret kind of meetings. Not going to happen anymore. One of the things I do is I go to more commissioners' meetings than the commissioners go to of their own meetings. I go, and since I've started this, to more commissioners' meetings and government meetings than everybody in this room, than all the candidates combined. So can you vote for one person that's been following this? Just one person that's been following this. Here's the point. If you're a Simon Harris supporter, you might not like this. If you're not, you might. If you get one person in there that knows how to run the meeting right away, I've been doing it for 12 years, I should know how to run the meeting. If you vote for myself and for Raymond Smith, there will be 2 of us. And what I'll do is Simon here will no longer be in the driver's seat. Would you like to drive with him? Would no longer be in the driver's seat ever again. He'll still be a commissioner. He's voted in, and we'll listen carefully to what he has to say and then vote. He won't be the chair ever again. Sorry? Thank you very much.
Any questions for Dale?
Oh, now? Okay. Any questions now for me? Yes, sir. But yeah, up at the microphone, I assume. Right, Mike?
That's correct.
Dale, I would just like to hear some more solutions about funding, if you could. Do you have any?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So we know that $135,000 was set aside, I don't know where it came from, and nobody knows where it came from, for water testing. And they intended to sign a 5-year contract, so which would ended up being about $650,000. Where'd that money go? In fact, the commissioner said, well, that could go to law enforcement. Why didn't it go to law enforcement? Okay, that's one. PILT, payment in lieu of taxes. That goes into the general fund. That should be going to the sheriff. Economic development funds. That's going all over the place. They actually help augment some of the department budgets. With economic development funds? Really? If it's serious and it's truly an emergency, and they say we're not having economic development in this county because the sheriff is in such an emergency, let's put economic development money into the sheriff's office. All of the economic development money. Let's make sure that he's fully funded. There were a lot of people who pushed for levies. After the levy didn't pass, they weren't to be seen. But several of us got up at every meeting after that and said, hey, it's still an emergency, right? Shouldn't the sheriff be funded, right? There are a number of places, there's over $1 million in discretionary funds that could potentially go to that. It's not. Okay. So if it's truly an emergency, let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dale? We're just going to do a couple, because otherwise it could go all night. A couple of very
Okay.
quickly here.
This should have a quick answer. Actually, this gentleman right here asked me, a lot of people don't know your background. Have you had any military service or anything like that?
Right. I am currently a captain in the Air Force Auxiliary in search and rescue. I was until recently a staff officer in search and rescue for the Coast Guard Auxiliary. And I have worked for the federal government representing you folks at Voice of America and USIA Information Agency, gathering information about other countries and collating the information and figuring out trends and ways that we can go to keep the country more safe.
Mike, one more?
Very quick.
Okay. This coming week on the agenda, there is an economic development officer being discussed by the board. Do you know, have you heard about this, or do you know about it, or do they have someone set aside for it, or what?
Right.
They have a pick or what?
The commissioners have not been real clear about how they're spending economic development funds. And so what they have in mind right now is to have somebody that's going to help distribute those funds. Again, I believe those funds, at this emergency time, they should go to the sheriff's department. I believe in law enforcement, and I think we should do everything we can to support that. Mike, is that the end of my time, bud?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much.
So next. Next is Dan DeYoung.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan DeYoung. I want to thank Mike and Dale for putting this on and giving everybody the opportunity to come out and hear what the candidates have to say. I wish there was more candidates here because there's a lot more on the roster than are here tonight. But at least the ones that are here, you'll hear a little bit of something about us. I'll start off as I was born in Grants Pass, Oregon in 1949, so I'm 60-something years old. Graduated from Grants Pass High School, and you ask about military career. I was in the United States Navy for 4 years aboard a destroyer for most of that time during the Vietnam War. Didn't step foot in country, won't claim that I did, so therefore, there's a lot of people that like to, think everybody was in SEAL Team 6 or 5, but I wasn't that way. Since then, I've been in the business community. I was a service manager. I started out for $2 an hour with Rogue Valley Heating and Air Conditioning, the company that many years ago I helped put the air conditioning in this very building. And it's still standing, and I think it still works. But I worked there for 9 years. I worked myself up to service manager in 1981. I started all seasons heating and air conditioning in Grants Pass, and it's still alive today. We've done work in Roseburg, all southern Oregon, clear over to the coast, where you're a multifaceted company and try to stay up with the times, which in heating and air conditioning is really challenging this time because with all the environmental restrictions and EPA standards and things of that sort. So 2 years ago, I decided that it was about time I hang up my tools. And since then, I've been just working. I work on old cars. I restore cars. That's what I do it's not for a living. I do it for myself. I have a couple of cars that I really enjoy driving on the weekends. I belong to the Rogue Valley Classic Chevys and a number of different clubs across America. I also I'm on the Grants Pass City Council. I've been on the City Council now for 6 years. The last 2 years, I'm on my third term as the City Council President. I've gained a tremendous amount of experience in how government works, how budgets work, where funding comes from, how it can be distributed, what's discretionary funds, what isn't. I'm very versed in the city of Grants Pass. I am not versed in Josephine County government yet, but I will learn every bit about it as I did for the city of Grants Pass. When I ran for city councilor in Grants Pass, I absolutely knew nothing about it, but we joined. There was 5 of us that stepped up, and when Grants Pass was going through its recall of 5 councilors, we call that the Dark Ages. Took a lot of guts to get up there and put your name in the hat. Took a lot of guts to start taking the heat from staff and take the heat from the public. But we weathered that. I think we have a lot better product in Grants Pass. To that end, I would like to bring that leadership and that sense of working with government, working with the people, I think they two can get along in the same room. Dale sponsors badcounty.gov, and I'm curious to see if he gets elected, if it'll be goodcounty.gov. That's, maybe Mike will have a one-man roadshow here, I don't know. But Dale's a smart guy, and I respect a lot of the things he says. But I think that this county is so diverse, all the way from Wolf Creek has a separate set of problems. So does Sunny Valley. Their big issue is the mine out there, the aggregate mine. You get out to Cave Junction, you folks have a huge bunch of issues out here, but they're different maybe than Selma, and they're different than Merlin, and they're different than say Williams. And I just, for three people to think that they can effectively go throughout the county, 1,684 square miles, and be effective, that's a long shot. That's a big job for anybody, especially for three people. So I would like to see that every little community, so to speak, the little communities get together, and I know they're not going to trust even Dale or anybody. It doesn't matter who steps up and who, if it's Paul or anybody that steps into the shoes to fill Cheryl's and Keith's shoes if Keith were to not get reelected. They're not going to be trusted. Dale hit the nail on the head. They're not going to be trusted. Nobody trusts government. How can you trust government from the top down? It stinks to high heaven. So can you do anything about the federal level? Yeah, you can vote. Can you do anything about the state level? Yes, you can vote. In the local government, you're either your city government, your county governments, you are within arm's reach of your elected officials. You can call them on the phone, you can talk to them, you can go to the meetings, you can film the meetings, you can do pretty much whatever you want, because they are available, and they're available for you.
Ding, ding, ding.
Thank you.
Any
Saved by the bell.
Any questions for Dan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Vivian, go ahead.
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
What has your position been on property taxes and sales taxes? How would you solve our funding issues?
Well, I knew you were going to get to that sooner or later. I look at, when I'm on the city council, we passed the sales tax. Or we didn't pass it, we put it on the ballot for the vote of the people. Was that a good idea? In retrospect, absolutely not. By virtue of the fact of what it failed at. It failed 75-25, somewhere along in that. It was way up there. Well, guess what? We all learned something from there. But one thing that the task force did was develop a product that would answer a question and put it on the ballot in Grants Pass. That really didn't set well with the people in the county, because guess what? They would have had to pay for it. As they came to Grants Pass, they were going to get charged. They were going to get paid for it. They were going to have to pay for it. But part of it was going to take care of the jail, which is a county function also, that is really struggling right now. As far as taxes go, I don't think taxes are popular anywhere, at any time, from anybody. The best tax is always one that somebody else pays. But you know what? At some point in time, right now I look at the city government, because I'm still on the city council. That's my arm's reach right now. Get to the county, I plan to step back, go to 30,000 feet, and look at everybody's issues here in the valley. When we get to taxation and when it gets to public safety, that's our number one. I would be in favor of districts, very much like you had district out here. There was tax money in your district. You wanted a sheriff's patrol, so you got sheriff's patrol. I think a lot of the mistrust comes from years ago when the money was there. Your wait time was still 45 minutes to an hour out here. That is unacceptable. You need resident deputies. You need residents that you can meet them on the street, and they're within 10 minutes of anything here in this county, in this part of the county. Same thing goes with Wolf Creek, if they want it. Same thing goes with Williams, if they want it. Those are things that if you wanted and you agreed to pay for it, just like your fire district out here, you wanted a fire district, so you decided you're going to put a number on that, and it's on your tax bill, and you pay for that. You have a fire district. You could do the exact same thing with the sheriff's department.
Okay.
And thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
Yeah, most people think that the sales tax question could have been answered with a Facebook poll, and it would have done really quickly, because most people in the Town Center Association came together and got a lot of money together to get that voted down. My question is this. While you were on the city council and you voted to ban cannabis in the city, let's back up. You're a veteran, didn't set foot on Vietnam soil, so you weren't qualified for certain benefits. But when it came time for heart surgery, your heart condition was repaired by the Veterans Administration, as you
Yes.
admitted before. Okay, so you're a patient with the Veterans Administration. Some benefits you had, some benefits you didn't because you didn't set foot on the soil. My question is this. According to a medical record of a veteran that's near and dear to my heart, doctor's entry says, I would support OMMP for veteran based on the symptom relief he reports for PTSD. It's a 20-year medical record. When you were approached as city council president, when working on the ban for cannabis, and you were approached and asked about the rights, and the question was, I have 200 patients at this medical dispensary down here, and you're proposing to ban it. You cut that person off and said, patients? You don't have patients. You have card holders. You reduced an entire industry of people who hold this card based on this medical record to card holders.
So what's
So
the
the
question?
question is, are you willing to distance yourself from those comments? In addition to when those people testified to you, you said those people holding those cards were a burden to your council. A burden. They were a burden upon you. That's city council. We placed a burden. That's what we were to you.
Okay, so
that's my question.
hang on. Very quickly, the question is...
The question is, are you going to distance and 180 yourself from those things that I am not a patient, but
Okay.
I am a card holder? What is it?
If you're a patient, you're a patient. You have rights. You have rights. You have rights. And all we wanted in the city of Grants Pass is the citizens of city of Grants Pass on their section of the vote did not want cannabis inside the city limits. Right now, it is a state law. You better believe it's a state law. You're allowed to grow marijuana. It's a state law that you're allowed to have cows. You can't have a cow inside the city limits because it's an urban setting. That's why the city council acted. Another thing that's real interesting is that right now, we don't really know what the state laws are going to be. I'm waiting for the state law to figure it out, and right now, it's against federal law. And Grants Pass is not like Grants Pass is Portland, where if you live down on 6th Avenue, that you've got to travel 17 miles to get outside of town. Most of the Grants Pass is accessible from 1.5 miles to 2 miles. Going back to what you said, Mr. Collier, I did have, the VA did pay for my heart surgery. You know why? Because I'm 40% disabled veteran, service connected. I did not set foot on Vietnam soil. They've asked me about Agent Orange because I have all the symptoms of Agent Orange, which one of them is heart disease. I did not step foot. I was from me to that microphone from it, but I never stepped foot. My ship was there 3 times. I never stepped foot on it. I didn't lie about it, Mr. Collier. I told the truth about it, and that's why I don't have any more than 40% disability. I'm proud of my Navy career as you're proud of your career. So that goes to that. We've got it on the ballot in the city of Grants Pass. It's going to appear on the ballot in November. A clarification question as to whether or not the citizens want recreational marijuana dispensaries or medical marijuana dispensaries inside the city. We will find out exactly then what it is. Until then, we put a moratorium on it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the
Danny Young.
opportunity.
Next is Paul Walter.
Thank you. My name is Paul Walter, and those of you who know me, I've been saying this for 20 years since I moved here, about 1988, that we're going to lose our country. And as I said in the voters pamphlet, we're right at the edge of the cliff this year. We're about to lose our country this year. This is the most pivotal year in the history of this country. But the problem is the reason we're in this mess, because you have been voting the wrong people to office, and they screwed you. And that's a proven fact. And it's not just on a national level, state level, but the county level as well. Now, the most 2 dangerous people running for county commissioner are Lily Morgan and Dan DeYoung. Now, why do I say that? It's nothing personal about Dan DeYoung, and he knows how I feel. It's because the city of Grants Pass never liked the county of Josephine. So what they want to do is take over the Josephine County government, and Lily Morgan and Dan DeYoung are the 2. They're going to take over the county government if they get elected for the city. Now, Lily Morgan is a PERS recipient. She worked as a 9/11 dispatcher and as a probation officer. What does that mean? She's on PERS. Now, a person that's on PERS that works for government, they're not going to work for you. They're going to work for the government. So this means you're going to have taxes and fees and higher taxes, and that's all you're going to have. They're going to look for constant ways to see they can increase their revenue because their own retirement and their purse depends on it. I'm like Trump. I'm funding my own campaign. I will not be bought or bamboozled or bribed if I get elected. And I have been telling you for 20 years, for those who know me, that unless you elect decent people to office, you're going to lose your country. And we're there. Now, another one that's very dangerous is Keith Heck. Now, who supports Keith Heck is Mr. Jim Brumbaugh, and he's also behind Lily Morgan, and he was also behind Simon Hare. Now, Simon Hare is a piece of works, and most of you know what his problem is. He's got a drinking problem. Keith Heck said in a candidate forum 4 years ago that he was a registered socialist in Orange County, California. Now, I don't hold that against the guy. He's still a socialist, but he's a nice socialist. Keith Heck is a pretty nice guy. I like the guy. But why is he running again? Because he needs minimum of 5 years to be in a PERS program. He's running so he can make sure he gets PERS retirement, and he needs another year to complete his 5 years minimum in. That's why he's running. Now, what does he do as a county commissioner? He's Simon Hare or Cheryl Walker's yes ma'am. That's what you got. What we need people in the office, they're going to stand up to the corruption. And now, going back to, just for a second, to Donald Trump, and I'm part of his campaign, he is not an establishment candidate, and that's why he's number one. People had it up to here with establishment candidates and those who work for the government. I don't trust anybody who works for the government, because when they work for the government, they work for the government. They don't work for you. And that's why we're in this mess. And that's why the county's broke. Just recently, I was told that the county commissioners voted $700,000, and maybe Mike can tell me if I'm wrong, and Dale, to test the city water to see if it's got arsenic and other bad things in the water. And they're testing that water, Rogue River water, in Jackson County.
You're in the ballpark.
Yeah, $700,000. $700,000 will put 5 deputies on the road for 2 or 3 years. You see how the bad priorities that they have? They don't think things out. And that's why what you need, and instead of a stinking politician, you need a businessman in there, like someone like myself, or people that there's others good these ones running. I like Joseph Rice. I like Bill Hunker. I like Ron Smith. You got good people. If you don't vote for me, vote for any of the other 3, but don't vote for Keith Heck, Lily Morgan, or Dan DeYoung, because you're gonna have you're gonna be right back into the saddle again. Right back into taxes and tax and spend, and it'll never end. Now, this brings me to one thing. Taxing districts. Don't ever vote in for a taxing district. Now, I'll tell you what a taxing district is. It never goes away. It's like me pulling my checkbook out and then just put the government's name on it and say, here, you can take as much out of my account as you want for as long as you want, and I got no say. That's a taxing district. You want to have no more than 2-year levy or a 1-year levy or 3-year maximum, and if you don't like it, it stops right there, and you can vote the guy out. You don't want a taxing district, because that'll create a police state, and then you will not be able to control the purse strings. The only way you can stop a tyrant is to cut off his money supply. And that's all I got to say.
And your timing is good, because that's it.
That's it?
Any
Wow.
questions? Any questions for
Well,
him?
I know that, what's the name's going to be here?
Yes,
Here you
yes.
are.
I'm always the person with the questions. You didn't mention anything about economic development and what you would do to solve the economic issues in our county, and what your priorities are for funding what we have, what we need to fund with what we have now. I'm sure you can answer that.
Of course I can. I mentioned the $700,000. They can't fund the sheriff's department, but they came up with $700,000 to test water. Now, how many deputies was $700,000 put on? And other things that they've done where they squandered your money. Listen, they can't put a deputy on the road, but they each make sure they get $80,000 a year benefits on their paycheck. When a county charter says $30,000 a year, they're not willing to take $15,000, $20,000 a paycheck. All 3 of them, they'll put 1 deputy on the road at least if they cut their their salaries 25%. But see, the issue is not the sheriff. The issue is how they want to pad their pocket and enrich themselves. Like, look at Laurel Sampson, for example, and I think Dan DeYoung can tell you that. She retired at $175,000 a year with PERS. Plus, she gets a Social Security. And that increases 3% a year. This means she can buy a brand new house every year and rent it out for $1,200 a month for the next 10 years, and in 10 years she'll have 10 houses, and she still gets a Social Security. That's how you're being screwed, because you got those kind of people in office that you have elected. And you know what? I was looking at myself one day. My wife says to me, you know, Paul, why are we in this mess? I said, you know, I've been wondering about that myself, and I found out last night. And she said, well, how did you find out last night? I looked myself in the mirror. That's how I found out what the problem is. We're the problem. We got the government we deserve because we didn't do our homework and use our common sense.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Judy.
Paul, thank you for enlivening people regarding the...
I love this country because I was born in socialist, communist Yugoslavia, and I'll tell you, I know what it's like to where you speak up and cops knock on your door, break your door down at 3 o'clock in the morning because you said something they don't like. I don't want that to happen in America.
And what I want to say, most people that get to be commissioners, they become afraid of the unions. You know, the unions are very
Not me.
powerful. Well, let me just finish, please. The unions are very powerful in all 50 states. I'm using the Obama thing here. In all 50 states. But how could you, I understand, and unless somebody can correct me, that I understand it only takes one commissioner to do the negotiation in the public. So far, negotiations with the unions on the PERS and everything is all done behind closed doors. So we don't find out their big padded pocketbooks and their trips to Europe and wherever they go. So would you encourage and almost insist that all the public negotiations be done on their contracts? Because right now, other than certain limited contracts and who you're going to bid for some contractor, most their union contracts can be done in the public. Would you be that one that would say, we're not doing anything unless the public hears what your salaries and your PERS are going to be publicly as you're negotiating? Would you be in tune to that?
Well, I can answer it this way. The reason the unions are so powerful because we're so cowardly. If we stand up to them, you know what happens when you stand up to a bully? He disappears, because bully is nothing but a coward. And the problem is the reason the unions are so powerful because none of us stand up to them. You stand up to these people and let them bark as loud as they can. Who cares?
Okay, one more very quick one, Vic.
Hope this is quick. So I understand you like Joseph Rice. He's a friendly guy, very personable. But were you aware that, if you read the sneak preview article or attended the commissioners' meetings, you might have learned that Joseph Rice was actually the guy who went to Diane Hoover to pave the way to get that $700,000 contract, and he actually still has the dead fish pictures and scare tactics up on his Oath Keepers website. He's actually the guy orchestrating that. Were you aware of that?
Well, I can tell you this. I like Joseph Rice. I think he's a decent man. He does what's right for this county. He puts his
$700,000.
He puts his life on the line with that mine last summer. Is he perfect? No, I think. But people can talk me into things, and I may vote for something that I think it's good when it's not good because I was fooled. So I don't know the whole issue, and I'm not going to stand here and say anything negative about Joseph Rice because I think Joseph is a decent guy.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
And now Mark Seligman.
Hello, everybody. Mark Seligman, Selma, Oregon. That's what I say in front of the county commissioners. I want to thank Mike for putting this on. I think the more that we could have the public being aware of what your commissioner candidates are all about, the better it is for us as a voter. So I want to start out with, I was born in New York City in 1949, and I have a BA degree in sociology from the City University of New York, and I have a 2-year business degree from Queensborough Community College, also of the City of New York. I've run a landscape maintenance business in California and here since 1976. Prior to that, I was a taxi driver in New York. So, I've talked to a lot of people in my line of work, whether it was a taxi driver, a college student, or certainly landscape maintenance. And I've been involved in politics in Josephine County since about 2005. The reason I got involved is because of the tax levies, the incessant tax levies. And I've made a contract with the voters never to support a tax levy. As a libertarian, property taxes are not what we stand for. My signs over there pretty much say a lot about me, about prosperity and no new taxes. One of the main issues of our county is poverty, crime, and homelessness. And until we get that under control, we're going to continue to have crime. Communities that have less poverty have less crime. Communities that have a sense of self-esteem have less crime. Now, Josephine County is not winning. We're losing. We lose every possible way we can lose. We lose with our commissioners. We lose with our economy. We have to start winning again. I realize who else says that, but this is the truth. I'm not going to be politically correct here. My dad told me growing up, Mark, always tell me the truth. I don't want you to lie to me. And I'm going to tell you the truth. And I'm going to say things that are factual. You may not agree with it, but I can always back up my facts. I'm making a contract with the voters to not be for any tax levies. This state of emergency, I'm against. It takes away our autonomy. We need autonomy in Josephine County. We don't need Cheryl Walker, Simon Hare, and Keith Heck, who do not have our trust, now giving away part of our county. Now, right here in the city of Cave Junction, we have a crime problem. We have a deputy that gets paid $160,000 a year, and he's not working at night. That's unconscionable. We also have road dollars. If I was a commissioner, I would vote to put at least $160,000 to the city of Cave Junction and the Illinois Valley to have another deputy at night. The county commissioners feel roads are more important. I don't think roads are more important than public safety, okay? I would put the money out. They're not doing it. They would rather take your money through property tax levies or state of emergency. I'm against that. Now, as far as economic development, if you want to eliminate poverty, crime, and homelessness, you need economic development. We have logging, we have tourism, we have medical services, and we have the new one, cannabis. If you were for the gold rush, if you were around in 1849, if you were for the timber industry in the 60s and 70s, those were the big industries. Now the big industry is cannabis. I'm for enriching businesses and individuals, not government specifically. Government will benefit in the long run, but as long as people benefit, we have more self-esteem. You have kids now who grow up here and they're at the soup kitchen in Grants Pass, or they're doing crap around here in the Illinois Valley. They have no opportunity. The most vulnerable people in society are our youth, our seniors, and our animals. If we can't help them, we're not worth a damn. A rising tide lifts all boats. If you went to the Josephine County Fairground, to the cannabis fair, you saw the multiplier effect of the cannabis industry. Greenhouses, security, soils, fencing, and numerous others. These people are being employed. These are the pick and shovel parts of this industry that Josephine County is beginning to survive on. You take away this cannabis industry, and this county is far worse than the 9th worst region in the United States. I'm for proper land use. I'm for less regulations. The Planning Commission is a commission that can control the businesses of this county. I'm a libertarian. I believe in the free market. Again, our youth, our seniors, and our animals, very important. I spoke on behalf of the seniors when they wanted to take away the Meals on Wheels program or restrict it. I thought that was unconscionable of these three commissioners. Seniors deserve better treatment than they have gotten. Integrity of elected officials. Clearly, we don't have that. Our present bunch of commissioners are up on ethics violations. We all know about Simon Hare. We all know about the ethics violations of Walker and Heck. Now, I will agree with Paul on one thing very strongly. There are two counselors running right now one for position 2 and one for position 3. Dan DeYoung and Lily Morgan. What they're trying to do, they have never met taxes except for Lily Morgan that they didn't want. Lily Morgan and Dan DeYoung single-handedly helped to defeat the cannabis industry in in Grants Pass. Now they're taking a little different tune. Basically, my campaign has to do with prosperity, trust, and transparency. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Hey, Mark, hang on a second, Mark. Any questions for Mark Seligman?
Hi.
Hi.
I happen to own property in 3 different counties here in Oregon, have family members in all 3 counties, including here. I served 41 years in the military. I just retired a few months ago. My husband also did 41 years. Neither one of us stepped foot in Vietnam. We both ended up in Korea. We lived under a dictatorship. We lived under martial law. We were there when Vietnam fell. I also was involved as a volunteer. I'd never heard of Oath Keepers before. And my question to you is, when I first heard about it, was asked to come down as a licensed nurse and a combat medic to volunteer in the vetting area off the freeway and later on go up to the cabin to help the miners guard their cabin. I thought Oath Keepers was, you know, those university students that take that oath to stay chaste and not lose their virginity before they get married? That's what I thought Oath Keepers were. I found out really fast that they weren't. And then as an Oath Keeper, in my heart, having served 41 years in the military, I decided when I got down to the vetting area, my question to you is, they gave me a paper that said, the coordinator, Joseph Rice, they gave me a paper, and Clinton Shard, that I had to read this, even though I wasn't an Oath Keeper as a paid dues member, that I had to follow the national bylaws. As a person working there for 7 out of 9 weeks, I found out that the coordinator of Josephine County Oath Keepers violated many of those bylaws. So my question to you is, you're saying that they're about trust, okay, and integrity. And what I saw with this particular person running for county commissioner, my question is, if there is no trust in other areas that a person is volunteering or working as in this county, how can we trust a person like that to be the county commissioner? And what would you be able to do, please, to make sure that you, as county commissioner, can work with your sheriff to make sure he follows his oath of office and he doesn't get favors from people like these nonprofit organizations?
Okay. What's the question?
Yeah.
That was the question. What could you do to make sure that you could work with the county sheriff to make sure?
Thanks. Here, let's have Mark answer.
Okay. I don't feel the county sheriff is doing the citizens of Josephine County right now a real service. What he's doing in Cave Junction, he's not put on anybody on at night. He has wanted the road dollars, so I agree with you that he's at least trying on that. You only know, people run on their records, whether in public office or whether they're a political activist like myself. You watch a person in their public life. If they stand for certain issues, then chances are that's what they're going to do. You have county commissioners right now, you have candidates right now who say, well, you know, now that I'm running for county commissioner, I'm not going to be for property taxes anymore. Lily Morgan. You have Dan DeYoung saying, well, we'll look at the whole county, where before he was the #1 detractor from the cannabis movement. You run on your record. A lot of people here want to be politically correct because they want to appear to be friendly to everybody here. I don't care. I'm going to tell you how I feel. Other people in this room will come up here and will tell you what you want to hear to get elected. Okay. I'm not going to do that.
All right,
so trust is very important.
Thank you. One more very quick, concise question.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I believe you're correct in the cannabis industry bringing economic growth for the greenhouses and lots of other stuff that they purchase. People are bringing the money in here. But Cave Junction, for example, has a law enforcement problem. I'm wondering how much the cannabis industry is already taxed. Is that precluding their pooling their resources to perhaps pitch in and hire extra security or extra patrols for this community, even if it's not the sheriff, rent-a-cops? If there's some way that can be done, or are they already being heavily taxed by the state or in some other way that precludes that?
I've gone back and forth on this. I talked to a person who's very up on land use and the OLCC, and I said, well, what about that idea about the cannabis industry chipping into the community and helping their community? On the surface, it appears very well. And he goes, no. And the reason no is because to this point, Josephine County has worked against the cannabis industry. Why would you want to help a county government out that has done things to hinder it? When the time comes that people are in office and they follow state laws and the city follows state laws, at that time, okay, growers would consider helping the county. But until such time, why would you help an entity that has not helped you? And this is your number one industry. It doesn't make any sense. So I hope that's a fair answer.
All right, thanks. Mark Seligman, thank you very much. Okay, next is Joseph Rice.
Everybody here okay? Good evening. Thank you, Mike, and putting this on, and Dale. I'm Joseph Rice, and I am running for County Commissioner. Apparently a person of controversy. I'd like to thank everybody for the support and the kind of digs I'm getting at here. Obviously, I'm doing something right because it's taking notice. I want to look at something, and I've heard a lot of things, and we can attack people, we can look at things, but Josephine County is at a point where we have to have some visionary leadership, we have to look towards the future, and we have to take a very different approach in the way things have been done. You know, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result each time. And I think we currently see that with the established leadership within the Board of County Commissioners and other positions of government. And I think we have to start thinking a little bit outside the box. Government is not, nor was it ever intended to be the fix-all, do-all for everybody. It was intended, and the only purpose of government is the protection of the citizens. Right now, you know, public safety, community safety is a huge issue here. Because we don't have the patrols. That public safety, community safety is not just the physical security of our community, it's also the security of the health of the people and the environment, everything else we're dealing with. So one of the things, and folks kind of know my background a little bit, is my intention is I believe in the Constitution. I took an oath to uphold and defend the United States Constitution in 1981. I live and honor that oath, and I do so today. I intend to represent the will of the people, protect your individual liberties and rights, and clear government obstacles to employers. Everybody in this room has the right to live their life as they choose to live it. They should not do so with overbearing government encumbrances or government explaining how you shall or shall not use your property or how you shall or shall not use your land. Part of that is, you know, we have to protect the individual constitutional rights, liberties, and freedoms. That's what we do. So people in this room, people in Josephine County can choose to live and prosper. Community safety. We have to address this issue. That's a second type of priority. Economic security that will promote job retention. Josephine County, we talk about economic development. I think we're past that point. We have to stop the backslide. We have to retain jobs here. We're at retention. Once we can have retention, then we can start looking forward to economic development. If you look in the county, if we want to promote business development, employers, government doesn't create jobs. They create an environment so businesses can prosper, and they can do so freely. I've had a proposal, I put it out in the open at the commissioner meetings. Give any new business a 24-month personal property tax holiday. And a personal property tax is what a restaurant is taxed on, from the plates to the phone to the broom they sweep the floor with. Give them 24 months, they don't have to pay a tax on that. That allows them to get their financial feet under them. Any business that's expanding, give them the same thing. Give them 24 months on the expansion. Let them recoup some of those expansion costs. You know, get that under them. It costs the county nothing. It just gives some insurance for job creation and allows the business to financially get the legs under them. I heard it earlier, honor the Josephine County Charter. We're unique in Josephine County as we have a home rule charter. That charter protects your individual rights and liberties like no other county in the state of Oregon. And as we've seen consistently, the current establishment tends to go outside that. They tend to ignore it. They don't tend to honor it. And it is, I heard it earlier referred to as a constitution. It is. We have an Oregon State Constitution. We have a home rule charter. It gives us independent liberties and freedoms, and we need to honor that. Maintain county sovereignty and values by not handing over local decision-making to Salem. Everybody is aware of the current county commissioner's stance to declare a public safety emergency. That word emergency is very, very dangerous. When emergency happens, it allows Salem to come in here and do what they want to do. Arbitrarily, they can raise property taxes to whatever they want to do. They can put in a telecommunication tax, whatever they want it to be. When we look at and talk about public safety, they discuss it as what is an adequate level of staffing. And I've yet to see come out of the department or any place what they feel is an adequate level of staffing. They always refer back to 2012. Well, man, we were flush and times were good. It's no longer that way. What do we truly need to have staffing to support it? That's 5 minutes? Yeah. Okay, I'll wrap up. I got more, but I'm done.
Any questions for Joseph Rice?
I have just a general question.
Yes, sir.
Come to the mic, please, if you will.
I don't really want to ask the question specifically to him. I have a question, a few of them I'd like to have all answered, because I want to come up and ask the same question every time.
Oh, I see.
So is there a time that we're going to be able to do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
afterwards,
All right.
if everybody gets done, then we can, yes.
You know, Paul Walter said, a politician will say whatever you want to hear. He sure nailed it. So,
Do you have a question, sir?
Yes, I do. So, I believe that to understand what a politician really is, you have to look at his background just a little bit. You teamed up with your buddy Ron Wyden to try to extract $50 million to set up your private company. I understand the award was about
I'll have to
$4.
stop you there. That's untrue and false.
Actually, it's online. We have the documentation on it. It's a news report all about it. You went to Ron for 50. You got $25,000 from the county, 25 from Sorority, 25 from the state for your business.
That's also untrue.
We want to know where that money went, Mr. Rice. And then the Fielder Dam scheme, you still got your dead fish pictures.
Whoa.
I want to know, Mr. Rice.
That's one question.
Yes, I want to know what makes you think, should make us think that you're going to suddenly change your spots, not try to extract all this tax money out of other people's pockets. You went to Diane Hoover to orchestrate the Fielder Dam scare. So are you going to change your spots, or are you going to keep playing these games once you get access to the county commissioner's job?
All right.
Which question should I answer?
You going to change your ways, Mr. Rice? Really?
Well, give me one question. I can answer the one question. I'm not going to go through a statement. I mean, first off, in my pamphlet, I don't support any new taxes. I don't support any new levies, period. We, in the county, must live within our means, period. We are heading for a fiscal cliff. That's going to happen here in 2017. There's going to be hard choices made and decisions going to have to be made to bring and knock things down. No question about it. So supporting and raising taxes, it is unethical to go to people in Josephine County that live in the community, ask them for more money when they're making decisions between heat their home or put food on the table, and that's unreasonable.
Okay.
Quick question.
Here, let me just interject for a second. It's fine to come. I realize emotions are sometimes involved in some of these questions. Please think about what you're going to ask. Ask a very short, concise question that can be answered. It's not statement time, okay?
Question. Military helicopter pilot.
Correct.
The 185-page National Transportation Safety Board report on the Iron Mountain 44 incident indicated many problems with the organization, Carson Helicopters. You were Director of Operations leading up to that?
No.
Director of Operations at Carson Helicopters.
I was Director of
Did
Operations.
you leave under a cloud of embezzlement right before that incident under which Steve Matheny could not have put those helicopters apart by himself? Were you a part of that?
No.
No part. As Director of Operations, you had no role in putting together helicopters that crashed, that the 195-page report said Had to be, because it was 3,000 pounds overweight, gross weight. How did that
Okay.
happen? How is it
Okay,
over
that's the
chart
question.
C?
That's the question. Yes, understand. And no, there's, no.
It's a very short
That's enough. We already had two long-winded statement
I'm not long,
questions.
this is real quick.
Is it going to be very quick?
Yes, sir, it is going to be.
I will, if I may, Mike.
Yes.
I'll answer the last question. I was the director of operations at Carson Helicopters. No question about that. I left and resigned from Carson Helicopters 8 months prior to that accident. When that occurred, I was in Alaska working and flying. I was no longer the director of operations. The reason I left, if you read the entirety of the report, was because of exactly what caused that crash. I was a key witness in the NTSB investigation. I was a key witness with the Department of Transportation, the FBI, and the Office of Inspector General. Part of that was Carson, Steve Matheny, was willfully falsifying aircraft weights. I became aware of it. I challenged him on it, and I resigned from the company. 8 months later, they had the tragic crash in California. Prior to that, I had also approached the United States Forest Service and made them fully aware of what I had discovered and knew at Carson Helicopters. They chose to ignore that information. So that's well documented. Matheny is currently serving 12 years in federal prison for wire fraud.
Good evening, Mr. Rice. Your former boss with the Blackwater, now Academia Mercenaries, Bob, wants me to give you his best regards. And your friend Steve with the CIA that you worked with through Evergreen wants to say hello.
Is this a question?
My question that I have is very short. Was I not standing in the vetting area when a bunch of checks and the donation amounts of over $20,000 were taken to the bank and were cashed and brought back and handed in envelopes to Anita White so she could climb up and put them on the spreadsheet? Were you not the one that walked over and took those thousands of dollars out of her hands and walked away with the money that was misappropriated during Sugar Pine? And you said you only took in $8,000 during that whole operation. The question was I not standing there when thousands of dollars in cash were brought after going to the bank, and Anita Weiss wanted to put it in the spread books so we could have accountability of how much donations was coming in from all the patriots around the country, and you came and took the cash out of her hand and walked away with it, and at the end of the operation said you only took in $8,000 during that 4 months.
Okay.
Misappropriation.
All right. Thanks.
No.
Okay.
If anyone has questions on that, Roy Lindsay, a current city council member, is the treasurer of the group. There's been a forensic audit. All monies are accounted for. If anybody has questions on it, happy to open the books for full transparency.
It's fine to ask questions that have to do with being the commissioner. This is not an opportunity to sandbag anybody, and that's happened on a number of candidates already up here. I'm fine. Ask the person questions. If you have something very short and concise, you want to ask them something about their past, that's fine. Do it very quickly, because I'm going to lose patience here, and we're just going to stop doing the questions after the person's up here, if that's what this is going to be. Okay.
Next question.
I just need to say something with what Mike's saying there, because I have been attacked. I understand my actions in the background's been a little controversial. I believe in what I stand for. If you want to talk to me directly, in the back there, I have a document that verifies everything I've said. So it's actually being held up right now. Please go look at it.
Okay.
Okay, Vivian.
Okay, a little prelude. You have been attacked here a lot. I just want to thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done for the county, and ask you, do you love your country? Do you love your
Absolutely.
county? And are you set on a goal to improve our county? And do you have some economic resolutions to be able to do that?
I do. If I look at Josephine County, I do love my country. My motivation is I have an 11-year-old daughter. I know when I was 11, I had more freedoms and liberties than she'll know today. I also want to see the ability for her to prosper in a beautiful place. We have wonderful people in the county. They're diverse, and they should be able to live the lives that they choose to do so. We have to move forward on an economic path. That has to be the ability to entice businesses to come here. In the last couple of weeks, I've been in two places. I've been in Bend, Oregon, and I've been out in Huntsville, Alabama with a Department of Defense project. And those areas are booming. And I looked at Huntsville because it's defense funded, and obviously a lot of technology there, but we know those budgets are getting slashed. But I looked at Bend. And Bend has a thriving aviation composite industry, development industry, and we have down here in Cave Junction, the Illinois Valley Airport. We don't advertise ourselves. We don't put out to the state, to the country, move to Josephine County. We have the lowest tax rate in the state of Oregon. Bring your business here. We have a workforce that had worked in the timber industry, had worked in the mining industry. They want to work. They have the skill sets to work. We can encourage that here. So instead of saying how negative it is, why don't we start talking about how positive it is? If I'm an employer that wants to go someplace, start up a new business at a lowest tax rate in the state of Oregon, this is a pretty good deal. And if we can entice those high-tech in the aviation side, in manufacturing side, to use the Grants Pass Airport, to use the Illinois Valley Airport, there's lots of acreage there, there's lots of land, we can develop that, and we can provide and build living wage jobs. It's not my responsibility as a commissioner to do that. It is our responsibility. We have the ability to remove the regulatory fabric and hurdles that would prevent those businesses from coming in here and locating here. But we have to start selling ourselves as a good, positive community, because we are.
All right, thank you very much. Joseph Rice. Okay, next is Harriet Harris. And she's fast.
And I kind of feel good about being unknown. So, I'm Harriet Harris. I'm an outsider. Donald Trump would like that. I'm not in the political game. Hey, so because I'm an outsider, I've got the county charter here. I'm taking Saturday morning classes. I did not know that originally it was $30,000. In my campaign write-up, I'm saying that I'm going to give back 80% of my salary to nonprofits because I was in the military for 24 years. I was a Navy captain, and thank you very much. Great days. I credit my success with having found good people working for me. You know, any of you who were enlisted, you always said you worked for a living, you weren't an officer. Well, I was the one who found good enlisted guys, let them do what they were good at, and then took the credit for it. And I had a very successful career. And that's what I want to do in the county. Oh my gosh, there is so much energy, positive and negative. Last Wednesday at the Chamber of Commerce, what a high, so great. Then went to the commissioners' meeting. What a low, so depressing. You know, do I know that there's lack of respect? I love the saying, find out, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I tell you, Dale, if I'm elected, you're going to be on my hip here, and we're going to do everything together, because I pledge back 80% of my salary because I don't know everything. But there's so much knowledge and energy out there. I'm not going to deal with cannabis, but I want it to thrive. I want all the best. I want to get rid of the regulations that hurt commerce here. One of the things close to my heart, I can tell you that there are a lot of poor that need housing. We could get grants. We could get them off our streets, maybe reduce some crime, maybe make it more attractive for incoming business. These people give some stability to some families so that kids aren't wandering the streets with their parents, going from one house to another. Getting these people with their Social Security checks into some small place that they can afford. That's federal dollars coming back in here. Now, my good friend Bill Ertl over there, one, because he's Army and doesn't think Navy can have a good thought. He thinks I'm a pie-in-the-sky kind of person. But I will tell you, one of my bosses back in the military days was a Marine colonel, and he gave me the nickname Harriet Beecher Stowe because I cared about people. But he also ranked me #1 of all of his officers because I got the job done. I could see things that needed to be done, and get people to do them. And that's what I want to bring to this job, is to just put some of this energy into getting things done and having brainstorming sessions of a positive fervor, not the negative. And so, Harriet Harris, and I want to be commissioner, but I'll still be working in one sense, and maybe I'm undermining my candidacy here. I want to work to find solutions, not deal just with the problems that we see on the streets. I've been working with the poor, and oh my gosh, it's not the good time being poor that you might think it is. And I would love to see us. I loved Mark saying there are people who want to work. I am so tired of hearing people say that people don't want to work. There are jobs. If you can't afford the gas to get to the jobs, if you can't afford somebody to take care of your kids, you don't have the likelihood of taking a job. But anyway, Harriet Harris, County Commissioner, bring on the questions.
All right. Any questions for Harriet? Okay. Mark, come on up.
Yes, sir.
I want to compliment you for what you just said. You're the only candidate in this room, other than me, that has shown a compassion, okay? I don't know what else you stand for, but you seem like a very compassionate person, and I just want to compliment you for that. You're like coming out of nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Judy Ahrens. You know, most people, I've been here for 5 years, and I feel like people are confused when they're commissioners because they don't know who they represent, like even at the national level. And my quick question is, 'cause I know Mike's going to say something if I don't, is that what do you think the job as commissioner? Where do you think you stand on the organizational chart? We do have an organizational chart within the county, like the school board and everything. Where do you stand on? Do you understand where you stand on the organizational chart? And if you do, if you understand that really well, then where do you think, who's directing you? Is there people behind, or are you the one that are directing the county as far as representing the people? So we need to know that.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks, Judy.
So, quite honestly, I probably don't know that perfectly. I do know that the commissioners deal with the resources, but then, hey, the sheriff, who's another elected official, he gets to allocate those resources. So, you know, it's the sheriff that is putting the deputies or not putting the deputies here in Cave Junction. That's not the commissioners who are doing that. I know that they work with the department heads. I know that's the day-to-day kind of thing, but it's working with the community and trying to get the roadblocks out of the way and being open to hearing the people when they come and make suggestions. You know, I've heard the dam situation brought up, damn that dam situation, but you know, I would not have fallen into that. I can appreciate those commissioners being afraid of the water quality, but when any problem comes, I'll be looking to see who else might be responsible for this and who else should be paying for this. I never would have taken it on my own, I don't think. Hindsight's always so incredibly clear. But I will guard every dollar, and I will ask a heck of a lot of questions. And I loved Mark Collier's comment about, you know, put it on Facebook, get some feedback. Oh my gosh. The hardest part of this so far for me is being in the 21st century technology and hiring teenagers to get me up on the web. But it is the 21st century. We can use technology. We don't have to have people walking door to door to get a consensus of what the folks feel out there.
Okay, one more. Is it
Sorry.
Paul?
The question I have, you said we need to focus in on the solutions instead of the problems. Now, if you don't focus in on the problems, how are you going to have to come up with solutions? We have to focus in on the problems. That sounds like a politically correct gobbledygook to me.
Thank you, Paul. I I think the problems are walking our streets and hitting our pocketbooks every day. I think it's the solutions that are not quite as clear to us. So, anyway, thank you for your time.
Harriet Harris. And now Bill Ertl.
I lucked out. It's so good to follow the Navy.
Because they've cleared the beach for you?
I should share with you, following the Navy, I have a lot of respect for the Navy. They have one of the best shuffleboard teams in the military, and they're really good at it. And they have nice, clean uniforms, and they get to live in air-conditioned barracks. So thank you, Harriet, for your service. This is a little inter-military fun here. My name's Bill Ertl. I live in Williams, Oregon. I moved here about 10 years ago. I think Josephine County is the best damn place to live in the whole world. I've traveled. I feel so at home here. And I love the people. There are good people every place I go. I happen to be a realtor, so I bump into a lot of people. Good people, honest people. I'm probably on my third, Dale could help me, I'm probably on my third cycle of commissioners now. Starting with White, Ellis, somebody like that. And if you listen to the rhetoric, 3 generations of commissioners, some ex-commissioners are here today, are lousy individuals. They've made bad decisions. They deceived the public. They weren't transparent. And it goes on and on and on. I don't believe there are that many bad commissioners. What I think is the system is bad. And the reason we don't trust our commissioners is because not that they were bad people, but the county organization creates an environment where there's an opportunity for bad trust. So number 1 on my agenda is to rewrite the county charter. Now there's a group of us that have been going through it line by line, hour by hour, sort of a technical analysis. It's a good charter, but it was written for another time. It was written for a time when this county was rich in timber receipts. It was written in a time when we were primarily one industry. In today's world, in Josephine County, we have many economies. We have a robust health industry here. We have a robust manufacturing industry of pretty high quality. You'd be surprised. I belong to the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm always amazed at the little niche manufacturing operations around here. And this locale, this town, we have Taylor sausages, world renowned. They do a great job. We have Dutch Brothers Coffee. Wow, what an enterprise, right in our own county. So I'm going to be working hard for you in your county, and I really believe we should have 5 commissioners. And I've thought about that for a long time. But one of the reasons we have a mistrust is that we don't have a feel for our local commissioner. And the commissioners rotate their assignments every 12 months or so. So if I have a problem, I don't know who to call. Do I call Simon? Do I call Keith? Do I call Cheryl? And really, I have to be honest, I've thought for a long time we really have a 4th commissioner, and he's probably the guy that attends all the meetings. He's always attended more meetings than any of the commissioners, and probably would be the good place to start. So I think we need to rewrite our county charter, stick to all the basic principles. There's some good ideas in there, but 5 commissioners. Right now I'm thinking of geographic commissioners. and probably following along the Three Rivers School District, so we could have a commissioner for the Illinois Valley. We'd have one for the North Valley. We could have one for the Hidden Valley. And we give that scumbag city 2 commissioners, okay? And we've all heard tonight how the city tries to run over the county. So that's number 1 on my agenda. Number 2 is sort of falls into the area of jobs. I think we should think about Highway 199 as being an economic avenue to our county. And sure, yeah, we have exits right off of I-5, but we have the first major highway from the coast into our county and connecting with I-5. That has to be of great value, and we should exploit that to the full extent we can.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm not in favor of taking road money to support public safety. And the reason I'm not in favor of that, it's another heroin. We know that we are in this problem today because we were on the heroin of timber receipts. Now that's gone. We were on school
Thanks,
secure
Bill.
rules, federal substance.
Hey, Bill.
That's gone. And I'm
we're
winding
time.
up here.
Yeah.
If I hadn't taken so much time with the Navy, I would have been finished. Okay. So that's the 3 things. I'm Bill Ertl. I'm from Williams. I've been dabbling around for about 4 or 5 years now in county politics. I'd make a great commissioner.
Any questions for Bill?
None. Thank you.
Come on up there.
Only question I have for you, Bill, and you know I like you.
I didn't
In
know
order
that.
to, we got 3 county commissioners. We cannot even get 2 good ones out of 3. How are we going to get 3 out of 5? So 5 commissioners is not the answer. The answer is to get 2 good county commissioners that will serve the public and do what's right. And 5, it's impossible to get 3 out of 5.
Okay,
The
thank you
law
for
of
that.
large numbers
Thanks for
would
that
work for
question. Next there.
I'm Bill Wagner, and Bill,
Thank you, Bill.
I've worked with you before, but there's one thing I need to ask you. You're working on the home rule charter with Chambers?
No, it's a completely independent group, and right now all we're doing is what I call a technical thing. We meet every Saturday at 11 o'clock. Right now we're meeting in the Republican headquarters because it's free. John Chambers is kind of our group leader, and we're reading it sentence by sentence, line by line, and honest, it's taken forever because when you read the county charter in 2 or 3 sentences, you have an hour's discussion, and it goes like, what in the world does that mean? So I'm empathetic to even the commissioners.
Bill. Let's see if the guy has a question here.
Yes, my question is this. Has the subject come up in rewriting the home rule charter that you're going to put a plank in there to saddle us with a county manager? Has that come up?
That hasn't come up.
Will you stop them and tell them that I'm tired of fighting that issue? I've done it 3 times and come victorious. We don't want county managers, so use your influence to stop them.
So noted. Thank you.
Okay, quickly. One more here.
3 commissioners are kind of expensive, and if they're in long enough, they get PERS. What can you do to keep the costs down with 5?
Oh my gosh, thank you. Key point, our budget's about $80 million. We're no bigger than some school districts. I don't think a county commissioner should be paid. I don't see any reason why, just like I served as an Army reservist, it should be a public duty, and it would take part of the filtering out of it. So right now, no pay for county commissioners. And this is Bill talking, this is obviously going to be a food fight that we'll have to endure. But
thanks very much.
On that, just a comment on that. When you think about it, school board members don't get paid, and they put in a lot of time. If you're a Oregon House representative, you get $20,000 a year. $20,000 a year to be a state level officer, And here, help me, Paul or somebody said a county commissioner gets about 100 grand, about 100 grand with bonuses. and
Thanks
all
very
that.
much, Bill. Bill Ertl.
United States Army. Thank you.
And now Raymond Smith.
Okay, Raymond Smith. The
Get right on that mic there, Raymond.
all right. The reason that I'm running is to represent the people. The public, I don't see, has representation from our current commissioners, and I haven't seen that since I've been here, actually. Part of that, as with Dale and Mark and Ron Smith, I oppose any new tax levies, and I'll do that for 4 years. That's the term of the commissioner. The current commissioners are now discussing Chapter Law 753. They've pretty much turned that over to the Lipstick Committee to go to our state reps to ask for help from the state. That's wrong. The county commissioners, by charter, have the power, the only power, to represent the public in the county. That specific law only allows the commissioners and the sheriff to discuss this with the governor, to actually make this decision. They're leaving one key point out, which is the people. I don't believe the people want this. I don't want it. There's strings attached. There's no free money. They're going to instantly, the legislature is going to come back with another House Joint Resolution 21, where they're going to ask the state to raise our property taxes. The governor can't do that, not with this law, not with any law. That's in the Constitution with our property tax limitation. But they can't ask the state to raise it to a minimum, which that was the $2 bill. Anyway, I oppose that. I oppose any legislation at the state level or any level that's going to circumvent or remove the public's voice or the public to be able to consent to taxation. That's what this does. The county charter. I agree with Bill in one respect, Bill Ertl. It does need to be revisited. I've said that. But the power rests with the people. The state constitution only allows the people to the process of initiative, referendum, repeal, or adoption of the county charter. That has to come from the people. So as a commissioner, you need to work with the people to fix what's been taken out of it, which is many things. You've got to work with council to craft what's been taken out of it in a way that it becomes legal and still retains the most intent that the people put in it originally. So anything with the charter has to be brought to the people. They're the only ones that can adopt that or change it. And the commissioners can't, according to law, they can't even, they can't rewrite anything, and they can't bring it to the public either. It has to be initiated by the public itself. And I, as with Dale Matthews, I agree to the charter. That's our constitution. It's in accordance with the state constitution, and I agree to accept the $30,000 that's in there. The state constitution says that you shall set the wages of your county commissioners. That's what our charter does. So That can only be changed by the public. So, sustainable funding. People keep talking about sustainable funding. I don't believe, I've never seen a government that could ever get sustainable funding because they have this incredible thirst for money. As soon as they get more, they spend it, and that way they can justify asking for more. We need a sustainable government, and I think the charter is the first place we can look at for the commissioners. We don't have any, I haven't heard anything from the unions offering anything back to the public. I haven't heard of the people such as the sheriff.
Time.
Time?
So wrap it up there.
Okay. Anyway, as far as, I'm going to wrap it up, what we can do, I think we should streamline the government, eliminate as much wasteful spending as we can, redirect available funds that are being squirreled away for other things, and redirect available staff to support the public safety, and go after the federal government instead of the state on the O&C funds. Instead of the state actually making laws to circumvent the will of the public, they should be offering to help. Half of their counties in the state are O&C counties. They haven't offered to help go after the federal government. They only want to circumvent our will. So
Thanks, Raymond.
Yep.
Any questions for Raymond?
Yeah, thank you, Raymond. Gunter Ambron, 211 Ivy Drive, and also part of the Ken Rose Neighborhood Watch group. And we had Jimmy Evans here recently on the Cave Junction Citizens Patrol, and it's quite a soup. I've been a store participant. I've had a shop here in town for about 6 years, from 2003 to 2009, and I've never seen it as bad as it's been the last couple of years, especially the last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for about 15 years.
What's your question for Raymond?
For about 15 years, I've studied government and also democracy and the republic and the history going behind it. So I'm hearing much closer to what we need, and that is the people to be educated enough to take charge of their government once again.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's a question?
Part of that structure is going back to grassroots, and that would be, would you support a grassroots movement that would break up and then break the county into districts, and then each district would have a representative, and then move into the county? All of our governments right now are corporations. So, and there's plenty of proven fact.
Did you catch that question there, Raymond?
Well, specifically about districts and more representatives. So is that something like you're
taking a basic Republican structure, which we don't have because we all have corporate governments. We vote in initiatives. You also talked about the voter initiative.
We just needed clarification on the question, that's all.
The clarification is, would you go back to a historic Republican form of governance to support people's control of their government?
Well, we have the county charter, which does put the power with the people if they use it. And as far as the historic thing, I don't know. You've got the representatives that you elect should represent the public, and they should abide by the will of the public and abide by the charter.
You mentioned it was structural, the problem with it, and also the previous
Hang on a
one,
second.
Bill.
He's addressing your question. We really don't have time to have
Sure.
statements and long.
It's more of probably a personal dialogue. I have some information I'll share, especially I want to invite also all of the candidates on the 14th for a town hall on just enforcement and crime at the Selma Center. So I'll get back to everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, quickly there, Vivian.
Okay, I had an idea. We used to have one of these people where I worked. I was the person. If it's not in the budget and you get a piece of paper that passes over your desk, how are you going to make sure it's either in the budget, not in the budget? If it's not in the budget, are you going to stop it? And that's the way government should be run. That was my question. Are you going to stop it? If it's going over your desk and it's not in the budget, are you going to stop it? Stop whatever this expenditure is?
Well, I think that question belongs with the people. If there's something there that doesn't belong in the budget and it's something that's important, then the people should weigh in on it. But other than that, no, I don't see that it'd be spending money that's not supposed to be spent. So,
Thanks, Raymond. Raymond Smith. Sandy Casanelli. Yeah, we're going to need a camera adjustment on this one.
Yes. Mic adjustment. Can you see me? Well, I'm going to bring up the rear here with the American Merchant Marine. So bravo, the World War II vets for the Rogue Valley chapter. Anyways, my name is Sandy Casanelli, and I go to a lot of the weekly business sessions and voice my opinion, which, sorry, Harriet, is a downer most of the time because we have to say no sometimes. But this really bothered me, what's happening now. You say, be careful who you choose because the city's going to take over the county. Believe me, the city mentality has already taken over the county with the current board that we have here. And the biggest betrayal was what they are doing to invite the governor to take over our county. This is against our county charter, Section 2, which solely gives the granted authority to run our county to the commissioners. And they are willingly abdicating that responsibility. This is against the will of the people. 8 times since 2004, we have voted down taxing districts or levies. And this is an attempt to circumvent the will of the majority of the people. When I was in office for 3 years, those 3 years, we did not have a levy or a taxing district go before, countywide before the electorate. I think they were scared to bring it up. But, to expect the county citizens to replace what is the funds that are being reneged on by the federal government is totally insane, in my opinion. It's unbelievable that we have not done as Lynn County has done, take a stance, they took a stance against the state over the forest trust lands. We should have been doing this with the federal government years ago. And this is probably the #1 priority that I think Josephine County should be doing. This waiting on Simon Hare, Commissioner Hare, and the Association of ONC Counties is going nowhere. It is a total waste of money. There's a lot of things, I could go on and on, but I just want to do a little positive, maybe, some things on what I did when I was in office. We had a situation at the airports that the other 2 commissioners, Dwight Ellis and Dave Toller, didn't want to touch with a 10-foot pole. So who did they stick it with is the new kid on the block, which was me. And something, through a lot of hard work, I corrected a very bad situation at our county airports. And the thing that was most dear to my heart is I negotiated heavily to get the smoke jumpers to have a museum. at the Ivy Airport. The county council, the county commissioners, the former airport managers wanted to bulldoze over those buildings, and it was ludicrous. Here we had the smoke jumpers, who were a hardworking bunch of guys. They had the desire to renovate those buildings, and they did it with one. And like I said, I advocated heavily in order to get those leases implemented. I served on the BOPTA board for 2 years. I don't think any commissioner since has been on that board. I guess it's just too much work. And I advocated for court remodels when I first went in there. They didn't want to even paint or paper the courthouse, and they were pretty deplorable. But what I opposed was more important than what I did. I opposed the Paradise Ranch boondoggle. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of county money went into that boondoggle. Now the North Valley Industrial Park is pretty much the Paradise Ranch too. I opposed the canola fiasco. What a waste of money. I opposed the SOAR-ready 5-year strategic plan for the county when they wanted to have a county manager and more commissioners. Something, the county manager is unelectable by the people. It takes away our, ability to take away any bad situations. I've gone to AOC where there's all different types of governance. There's 3 commissioners, 5 commissioners, 7 commissioners, part-time commissioners.
The hook.
And I got the hook. Anyways, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Sandy?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing this, the charter indicates that you should be paid $30,000
Mhm.
a year. Is there a method to recoup what the current commissioners have paid themselves illegally over the past several years?
I don't know about that, but I'm going to tell you my opinions about this. Be careful of campaign rhetoric, because when I was in office, I was making $73,000 a year, and my tax burden was about $22,000. So right off the bat, that would mean I was going to work for $7,000 or $8,000 a year. Plus, I had to pay $2,000 for medical and dental. I did, but I didn't pay any, I didn't take one single dime for medical. I went to naturopaths where I paid for it myself. I contributed $6,000 for the 3 years to my medical plan, and I used $2,000 for eyeglasses and a partial. So the county really made out when I was in there. I also, my first year, I paid back every single cent of money that was contributed to me. It came to $10,000. And I gave away 20% the first year to different people, various organizations. So when you consider the fact that you're going to have to pay more than 20% just in taxes, in my opinion, it's not prudent to say you're going to strictly follow the charter when it's practically impossible to do that. When I tell these people, well, you're going to take $30,000, but you're going to have a $22,000 liability for paying taxes. They says, I want the $30,000 plus the $22,000, in pay. I mean, that's already up to, $52,000. So, I don't believe, I won't do it. I will not do it, just because fiscally it's not sound, especially when the commissioners are responsible for, as Bill said, like $80 million. And we have employees, One employee in particular was just given a 5-grade pay raise. At the end of her step, she will make as much as a commissioner, and she manages a $210,000 budget a year, and is closed on Fridays, open to the public only 1 day a week, and by appointment for the other 3.
Thanks.
We need
another
to
quick
scale
question for
back
Sandy?
everything. Sorry, we need to scale back everything.
Hi, Sandy.
Hi.
Hi. My question has to do with oath of office. I've seen a lot of people in the past who volunteered with nonprofit organizations and also even some people that served in the military that said they took their oath of office very seriously, but I've actually seen by example that they did not. Your oath of office, is, I'm sure, is very serious. When you do, if you become county commissioner, your oath of office, you'll also make sure that the judges and the sheriffs and deputies in your county here make sure they understand their oath of office and they sign within 30 days, that oath of office that's supposed to be signed within 30 days of taking office?
We sign our oath of office at the same time we're being sworn in. And I don't have the authority over other elected officials about doing that. I'm hoping that they would. I can tell you that I did take my oath of office seriously, because when an emergency operation plan came across my desk and it took away the public's right to be compensated, I would not vote for it. In the emergency operation plan, it says that the county could take resources without compensation, and I wouldn't sign it. So I take my oath seriously.
Thanks, Sandy.
Yep.
Okay, no more questions.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Afterwards, maybe.
Okay.
Sandy Casanelli, thank you. Shane Kristen.
Good evening. My name is Shane Kristen. I live in Williams. First came to Oregon in '69 as a crazy teenager. Had a lot of fun over in Ashland. I lived in Tequilma in 71 and 72. Saw some interesting things out there. I've been in Williams for 9 years. Have a small farm there, raise sheep. I have a medical garden. I'm also on the board of directors of the Oregon Sun-Grown Growers Guild. We were formed to stand up for small family farms and patient rights. I've been heavily involved in cannabis politics for 2 years, speaking at the State House, city governments, county governments. I was just speaking with Carl Wilson yesterday, and it surprised me that he said that they only get $22K a year. He said I made the right choice to run for this election. That kind of bothered me. You know, I have been a government employee. I am a government retiree. I understand governments. I understand how they move money around in departments. Most of them are on a fiscal year. That fiscal year is coming up, the end in June. In the next couple of months, you'll see departments that have money that will start spending it. They'll buy furniture, they'll buy bookshelves, they'll buy anything they can justify to keep the same amount allocated for them the next year. Now, there's a lot that needs to be done. But I believe things need to be done before this election takes place. It's my understanding that it only takes 30 registered voters to ask that a county or city be audited. Now that would be a step for the people to take to stop their purse strings from wasting any more money at the present time, before you hear the rest of us tell you why we'd be of good service to you. That's something the people can do. I'm all for looking for constructive ideas that cause no harm or as little as possible. I think that if they were audited and that they managed to figure out how much they needed per department per month with possibly a 10% slush, there'd be plenty of money to hire a few more officers to protect us. That could be done now. You don't have to wait for us to be elected. Again, my name is Shane Kristen. I think at this present time, I only want one term. I already have PERS, you know. I already have Social Security, you know. I think that there are so many people dissatisfied. I'm one of them. It's why I put my name in the hat. I have always believed that public service should come from an unbiased position with no self-interest involved. And as you all know, we have not been privy to that. I'm not going to bash any of these other candidates because some of them I don't know, some of them I do casually, some of them I've met along the political stream. This is going to be fun. Let's do the best job we can and represent the people. Thank you.
All right. Hang on a second, Shane. Any questions for Shane?
Bravo.
So what do you think of the feasibility of the local cannabis growers pooling resources to try to increase security, say, in Cave Junction? Is that feasible?
I think if you had a town meeting and asked that question directly to them, if they wanted to start a private service, you might be working toward an avenue for an answer. I can't answer that for you. It's going to take the people here. You specifically said Cave Junction.
Yes.
If you connect with them, they may be able to help. But it was brought up. Why would they? They might, you know. We're all people. We all need to take care of each other in some form or fashion, you know.
And if there's good arguments against it, I think people need to hear them.
Yes.
Okay, one more.
Love your shirt.
Thank you.
Okay, my question I have for you is in many counties, and I own property and have family in 3 counties in the state. Many counties right now, some of the county commissioners are trying to get rid of the videotaping of their live sessions. If you were the county commissioner, would you make sure that there was complete transparency and the people in this county here would be able to see the meetings in real time and be able to know what's actually going on within their county commissioners, including the question and answer period that usually county commissioners allow at the end? Videotaping, please, and live, real time.
I don't think we should give the people another reason to mistrust the government. So I would keep filming and do my best to be transparent.
Excellent. Thank you. Shane Kristen. Bill Hunker.
Good evening. Bill Hunker, Merlin, Oregon. I like that we have so many people running because it shows that there's a growing interest. For whatever reason, a whole lot of people have decided to step up. I'm one of them. I give you just a very brief background. I'm an Oregonian for 34 years. I moved to Josephine County 8 years ago. And I had, my career was 26 years as a television producer. I was mostly a freelance producer, and I had a nationally syndicated program at one point. I worked 7 years for Trident Missile Guidance with their quality awareness program, again in television. And I had top security clearance there with 120 contractors with Trident Missile Guidance. Then I did a very strange thing and moved very sideways in upper left or upper right, whichever you say, and went over and joined Wholesome and Hearty Foods. Most of you don't know that, but you might heard of Gardenburger. It was a very fast-growing company at the time. I became COO, took the company public. It became the fastest-growing stock in 1993. And Then I took some time off, but did go back as a consultant for a real estate development company in Maui, and I worked primarily structuring financial packages with venture capital organizations. So that's a little bit of background. None of that background is necessarily why I'm here today. Several years ago when the nuisance ordinances came up, I decided to pay attention when the vote came in at 80-20. And it surprised me. I was naive enough to believe that our officials were watching after and taking care of and representing us. And I was a little bit stunned. And out of that stunned position, I decided to put my name in the hat to recall Cheryl Walker. So I was the chief petitioner on that. We did get the signatures. Cheryl Walker was voted in by 62 signatures, and she was not taken out by 75 signatures of people who voted. But I learned a lot, and I crossed the county from one end to the other talking with people, with getting signatures, and began to realize what some of the issues were. The three issues continue today as they did 2 years ago, and that's economic growth, having a living wage job ability in this county. It's public safety. We've all, I think every one of us has spoken about public safety, and that means funding for the sheriff in particular, in this particular case, because we have two entities really that work on our public safety, and that is the city and the county. And the last one's taxes. Taxes are pretty easy because if you can't hear or see, would be the only reason you don't know where the people stand on taxes in the county. They are, they've been up to bat 10 times since '98 and 4 times in a row the last 4 years. If you weren't aware, they spent $118,000 trying to get the levy passed in 15. The anti-levy people spent $18,000, $100,000 less. And we gained 2 more points for having that levy go down. Why did we want that levy to go down? It was because the people had lost trust. It wasn't because they didn't want public safety. No one's going to raise their hand, and I include myself in that, to say we don't want public safety. I want to be very clear because I've been quoted several times over statistics that I got personally interested in just to have facts. I'm from a business background, and when you make decisions on anecdotal information, you can get way off base. You better go to facts, you better have them all lined up, and then you can make policy out of good, sound reasoning. So I went to the Oregon State Police, and I went back 20 years and pulled out everything I could find about the county. I put it in a form where most people can understand it in graphs. But I also got painted with a brush at the time that I was against public safety, or that I didn't like the sheriff or want him to have more deputies. That is absolutely untrue. With several of us, after the levy went down, someone mentioned, nobody showed up of all the people who were going for the levy to try and get the sheriff the money that was available. Several of us stood up and said, let's give money where we have money, and you've heard the various stories tonight of where money is available and has not been given. In business, you don't use the word crisis unless it's true, and then you try to solve it because it's a crisis. We don't have a crisis here in Josephine County in crime. We do have an uptick in crime and property crimes, which is directly attributable in many respects to the fact that we don't have jobs.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, boy, that went fast.
Yes. Any questions for Bill?
I see one person coming.
Bill, I'm enjoying this so much that if you had one more thing to say, what would it be?
Wow, how much you paying her, Bill?
We're gonna have to stay away from each other the rest of the time. I think the bottom line, and I thank the Courier for this particular line today. I did say it to them, but I thank them for it, and that is, we all have to live within our means. Okay, that's you, that's I, that's every one of us, because in 2008 we all took a hit in the county. The county government didn't take the hit. They have to live within their means also. And as we go down, that has to be reflected.
Okay, Vivian has a question.
Hi, Bill.
Each time, yes.
Every time, yes. I want to know the same question that I asked everyone else about economic development. Were you aware that the county is now going to discuss, or our esteemed county commissioners are going to discuss hiring an economic development officer? And how do you feel about that? And how do you feel about having just someone with their finger on the budget that says, well, this isn't in the budget, so no, we can't spend it. And only if it's an emergency, that's different. And then we have, what are those funds called that they stack away in reserve? Reserve funds, yes, for emergencies. So the question is, how do you feel about an economic development officer? And how do you feel about having somebody with their finger on the budget that does that?
We're the only county in Oregon that doesn't have an economic development person on looking into economic development. I think that that's one of the reasons. But what I don't like that I'm hearing, and this may be rumor because it's such a new topic, is that there's talk about splitting this with the city. That is not, coordination with the city is terrific. Splitting a person salary-wise with two entities, you're just asking to rip them apart loyalty-wise, how they have to vote every week, every month. So that wouldn't work in my estimation at all. Coordination, absolutely.
Excellent, thanks. Bill Hunker. Okay, it looks like we're down to the last one here, and that is Ronald A. Smith. And I heard word, I got a message that Lily Morgan was on her way, but, oh, you made it. Okay. Do you want to stick with your going last thing there? Or,
No, I'm not going to wait for her. She may get detained.
Okay. All right.
Hey, thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Ronald A. Smith, and contrary to popular rumor, Raymond and I are not brothers or cousins. I think Dale and him are. I was born in Grants Pass. My family homesteaded in the Illinois Valley over 100 years ago. I think our biggest problems are three things. We need a healthy economy, a healthy community, and a healthy forest. I think it's awful odd that we've had all these commissioners stand up here tonight and not one of them mentioned 67% of our land, the national forest. That's really traditionally and historically where our economies come from. I've been involved in this community for a long time. I was a former national member of the National Policy Board for People for the USA. I was the president of the local chapter of People for the USA right here in the Illinois Valley. I was voted Citizen of the Year by the Illinois Valley Cave Junction Chamber of Commerce for my work with the People for the USA. I think that we need a healthy economy, and the way we're going to do that, government is not the one that creates economy. What the government needs to do is get out of the way. We need to streamline the process, cut the government red tape, and invite business people into our community. So far, what I've seen from the county is they're anti-business. They're over-regulating, and it's much easier to get something done in Douglas County or Josephine County than it is Douglas County or Jackson County than it is Josephine County because of our planning process. So a healthy economy goes a long ways to alleviate a lot of our problems. We have a serious problem with drugs and crime in our community. We need a healthy community. A healthy economy will go a long ways to solving that drug and that homeless problem. So, and I think we need a healthy forest. We're in a dreadful place with our forests right now. Our forests are in a state that there is catastrophic wildfire waiting to happen. So if we'll focus on our healthy economy, a healthy community, and a healthy forest, I think we will be well on our way to a healthy Josephine County. Josephine County is a great place to live, absolutely beautiful. We produced natural resources in the county for over 150 years, and we still have this great natural beauty. We still have it here. We can continue to produce these natural resources. Our timber resources are unutilized in this area. We don't produce. Traditionally and historically, we funded all of our county with the O&C receipts. And if we'll stand up for that O&C lands, we can continue to fund our county sheriff completely. I don't understand why we've lost the will to stand up and fight for those timber receipts. Our forests need us to get out there and thin them. If we'll get out and thin the forest, we'll fund our county sheriff. It's not a difficult equation. I think that Josephine County is absolutely the greatest place in the world to live. I think that our young people need to be able to do more than just survive economically. They need to be able to prosper for the good of our community. So if we'll stand up and focus on our economy first and foremost, streamline the process. When a business comes into this county, we need to roll out the red carpet, throw out the welcome mat, and throw the doors wide open and say, Josephine County is welcoming you in to start your business. And this will create jobs. If we'll go ahead and address the problem of the drugs and the homeless people in this county, we'll go a long ways to have an atmosphere and an environment that's friendly. Right now, people don't want to come to Josephine County because they hear about the drug problems, they see the homeless people on the streets. We really need to address that problem. It's a serious problem here in Cave Junction. It's leading to a lot of the crime and the property crime. The drugs and the homeless people are a manifestation of a poor economy. And that poor economy is a manifestation of commissioners not addressing 67% of the land of Josephine County. We put a line on the map, 1,654 square miles. The commissioners don't have anything to say about inside the urban growth boundaries of Grants Pass or Cave Junction, other than ordinances, okay? What they deal with is outside of that. We deal with things like the Merlin Industrial Park. This can be utilized to bring in, very little of the land in Josephine County is zoned industrial, okay? Our county is not Jackson County. Drive over to White City, over to Central Point, and over to Medford, and see how much industrial base they have. We're not that county. We're more akin to Siskiyou County, where they don't have that kind of industrial base. If we're going to survive, if we're going to have long-term viability, if we're going to have family wage jobs here, we're going to have to look at our historical and traditional way of producing these jobs, and that's being good stewards of the land. We need to manage our forests for the health of our forests, for the health of our community, and for the health of our economy. So I really believe that that's the answer. I really believe that the land area in Josephine County is not conducive to industrial. I don't think we're going to invite Toyota in to build a manufacturing plant here. I don't know where we'd put them. But we can go out and manage our forest, thin the forest, and create jobs and create an economy and fund our sheriff. It's not a difficult equation. It's what we've done for over 100 years. And it can be done again. If the people have the will, if you have the commissioners who have the knowledge, if you have the will of the people backing up the commissioners, we can produce lumber again. Our last sawmill shut down. That's 120 jobs that just lost. We should fight for that.
Excellent. Any questions for Ronald A. Smith?
I'm Bill Wagner, and Ron, there's one question I want to put to you.
Yeah.
First, I've got to make a statement on it. It's a short statement. In 1780, the Continental Congress of the United States passed a law as a resolution that when new states come into the Union, they would receive all the land that the federal government was holding.
Yeah.
Okay? They sent this law to the 13 original colonies, which become states, and in 1781, the original colonies voted unanimously to adopt this law. Now, when you look at the Constitution of the United States, Article 6, Paragraph 1, says that all of these laws that the Continental Congress adopted would be the law of the land in the new Constitution.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you is, I've been lobbying now for quite a few years to try to get the state to join with Utah and Idaho because they have a lawsuit with the Supreme Court about this. And would you support returning these lands, federal lands, BLM and National Forest, to the state where they belong? Would you support that?
I would support that because the federal agencies actually lose money managing land. The state agencies make money managing land. The problem with our forests right now is directly addressed to mismanagement by the federal agencies. Our catastrophic wildfire danger is very serious, and managing the lands is managed much better under the state agencies than the federal agencies. Who knows better how to manage the land? People in D.C., thousands of miles away, or people who live closest to the land? Who really cares about it? People in D.C. or people here in Oregon that live around the land? I think we care more about it. Yes,
Okay,
Bill.
one more question. Bill Ertl.
I really agree with you.
Thank you.
I think the dilemma, and maybe you have the solution. I was chairman of an organization a few years ago. We formed a natural resources committee.
Yeah.
And we were really interested in both timber and mining.
Yeah.
But we stood up to a wilderness designation,
Mhm.
expanded here. And we had some good people working on it. And so we thought, we'll just call all the House members that are on the Natural Resource Committee back in D.C. And so we got guys from Tennessee, New Jersey, Michigan, New York. They're on the Natural Resource Committee. When we said we're opposed to this wilderness idea, they said, "You got to be kidding me. We thought all you guys in the West wanted more wilderness." So
Yeah.
if you want to work on this problem, you have to have some way of penetrating the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate.
So what's your question, Bill?
So how would you do that? I'm with you in
Well,
doing it. How
first
would you do it?
first and foremost, let's address the O&C lands. That actually addresses Bill's problem too, because those lands, when they were granted to the railroads, they were granted with one purpose: build a railroad and dispose of the land to private property. That would have created a tax base. The idea was to build a railroad, but in the meantime, create a tax base that the counties could support us. We don't have a tax base here. Less than 9% of the property in Josephine County is at a high tax rate. That's the landowners. The rest of it's forest and farmlands. That's why tax levies won't work. It just won't work. So if we'll focus on the O&C lands, and I think the only thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to sue them. Because the O&C lands is pretty straightforward. It's not difficult to understand. The O&Cs were set aside in 1937 to protect the watersheds, to protect habitat, and to have sustainable timber harvest to produce a permanent revenue stream for the counties. We wouldn't be having these problems if we had that.
So my follow-up question is, where will we get the money to sue them?
Hey, we have one more candidate, and
Thank
we're
you.
running out of time really fast.
I
here.
think there's a lot of money if we just watch our management waste in the county. There's a lot of way to shift money around. There's a couple different departments we can do it in.
Ronald A. Smith, thank you very much. And now Lily Morgan. This is the last candidate.
I wasn't sure if I was going to make it after work tonight, so thank you for your patience. I do also want to thank you all for being here tonight. I am honored to be here and for the opportunity to serve Josephine County. This is my home. I was born here in Grants Pass. I was raised here. 6 generations of my family have lived in Oregon. We've gone through some tough times together, and as a community, we need to work together to provide a safe community where businesses thrive, where jobs are available, and where the local government works in coordination with the federal government regarding our natural resources. We have amazing people in Josephine County, and together we can make a difference. There are 3 areas that I think that we should focus on. The first, of course, is safety. We need to make our communities safe, and that is going to be my #1 priority. A track record of respectful service to the public. Applying the golden rule every day step in restoring the public's respect for our Board of County Commissioners. I will work with my fellow commissioners, county staff, and members of our community to earn your trust. It won't happen overnight, but over the next 4 years working together, we can make a dramatic improvement in the performance integrity of our county government. The third aspect that we've heard tonight as well is our economy and creating jobs. I will work to bring new businesses and jobs to our county and to help those that are here retain their services and grow as they would like. Our county has enormous assets that we can build upon. We have natural resources of the Rogue River and the recreational opportunities around us. We have easy access to Interstate 5. We have attractions like the Oregon Caves and the coast nearby. We can and must leverage these assets to build a more diverse, vibrant, and sustainable economy. I will lead the county commissioners in promoting collaboration with the business community to identify and knock down unnecessary barriers faced by our local businesses. Some of the other priorities that I will help promote are being efficient. We have to work together with the other agencies. Right now, we see each of the cities and the counties and the school districts working independent of each other, and yet we have a 68% graduation rate with our kids. We have to find a nation. I learned that about 50% of our county voted for it and 50% voted against it. It's a divisive topic, but it is here to stay and it is legal, and we need to find ways to get the most out of the resources and grow the legal opportunities that are there while also maintaining the balance for the respect of the people that are not a part of that culture. We also have to be mindful that is age restricted. Alcohol, tobacco, those are age restricted items, and we have to be intentional to have prevention, education opportunities for our youth. The same goes with marijuana. It's age restricted, and we need to protect our youth so they have a future and a hope for what they're going into.
Okay, it's time. Any questions for Lily? Okay. First come, first served.
Hi, Lily. Glad you could make it. On the issue of, I have a two-part question. On the issue of economic development, as a city councilor, you never supported the cannabis industry in Grants Pass because of smell and said it was federally illegal. You were absent on the vote for medical marijuana dispensaries. Your position your statements has deprived many patients of medical access. You've explained your change of mind. I'm wondering if that change of mind merely is because you're trying to court county voters. That's the first question. The second question is on the issue of property taxes. You as a city councilor and probation officer voted for every single city and county tax levy. True, you could change your mind. I'm going to ask you right out, will you as county, if you are elected county commissioner, will you ever bring before the board or support any levy that somebody else brings before the board regarding tax levies? It's very important that candidates
Okay, thanks.
be consistent, and I'm just asking, will you support
Those are the
it?
two questions.
That's my question.
Thank you very much.
We have a representative form of government right now where the city council was elected to represent the city residents. Overwhelmingly, what we found in the last few years is the city council or the city residents voted no on marijuana. And so when the issues of marijuana came up, we reached out to the community of Grants Pass and we asked, how do you Grants Pass citizens feel about marijuana? Overwhelmingly, they said, please keep it out of our town. And so as decisions were made for the city of Grants Pass, we have to make decisions that are representing those that live in our community. Now, whether the county voted that way or not is a different situation. I had been elected to represent the city, and that's my obligation with dispensary owners. I went out and spoke with legislators, and I spoke with citizens, and I heard it from both sides of the industry. And what I've heard is a lot of people don't want it in their backyard. They might want the revenue from it, but they don't all want it in their backyard. So we have to find a way to have our citizens, who 50% feel on both sides of it, we have to find a way to protect and respect both sides of that issue.
Okay. Sandy Casanelli?
Lily, at the local Public Safety Coordinating Council on Wednesday, you were a board member along with Wally Hicks, Keith Hack, Dave.
Correction, I am not a board member. I'm not a voting member. I was asked to sit there to represent community corrections, but I'm not a voting or board member.
Okay. Thank you for that correction. But when this board voted unanimously to go forward with implementing this governor's takeover, we asked if at the very end, that they did it without any public input at all. At the very end, when we asked if the public could be allowed to speak, not one single person on that board or invited there would give the public the opportunity to speak and voice their opinions on this. In my opinion, this is not a very, I don't know what you said, Christian or open manner for making decision that is so serious to the county and the citizens of Josephine County. So why didn't you say something and allow the people to speak?
I was invited to be there the same as anybody else. I was not a voting member. I had no say. And those that had been there the whole time said that traditionally, in the entire history of that board since 1996, when it was established, 97, they have never allowed public comment.
It was up to the chair, and you could have advocated for us.
It wasn't my position to do so. And the sheriff could probably back me up on that as someone who's not a board member.
Okay,
So-
one more and we're wrapping it up.
Hi. My question for you.
Vivian's still in line, by the way.
I'm sorry, Vivian. Okay, we'll let Vivian ask a question.
Thank you.
My question for you, being is that we've heard throughout the state of Oregon and other states that there's been a question about honesty with politicians and people that run heads of organizations or nonprofits like here in Josephine County. When they come up and say, if it doesn't come out of my mouth, it's Bravo Sierra, if you know what that means. My question is, when I've seen them come up on video or other people, politicians come up and say, if it doesn't come out of my mouth, it's not true. What is your concern as a county commissioner, if you become county commissioner, that the veterans and the homeless in this county are hearing that there's a lot of lip speak going on, and that can you, as a county commissioner, assure that at least one member on your the county commissioners, the three of you, will make sure they really keep toe to the metal as far as making sure the veterans and the homeless veterans are taken care of in Josephine County?
I have great admiration for those who have served, and I have come across many veterans that have ended up in the criminal justice system because there's been no help for them. And due to the PTSD or other illnesses that have maybe come out of their time of service, they have been caught up in my office. And so I've worked closely with the Veterans Administration in White City and in Roseburg and trying to get services for folks. I am on the Sobering Center board, and we're due to open that soon to try to reprieve some of the costs of housing people in the jail and at the hospital. Recently, I have joined Rika Brown in trying to come up with ideas for a rest well center. And I can tell you this, whether you agree with everything about Rika or not, she's somebody who puts her walk to what she talks. And when it comes to the homeless, there are many that are still on the streets that do not want to go to the mission for various reasons, whether they don't want to stop smoking or they don't want to abide by the faith principles that are taught there. There are others that choose to stay on the streets, and as you heard not too many months ago, we've had people die because of the weather. So just 2 weeks ago, I gave a young man a ride to the warming center that Edgewater Church hosts, and he was telling me on the way the police told him there's no right to rest in Josephine County. You do not have a right to stop and bandage your wound or to sit and rest. And they have that in other parts of the state. They have that in other parts of the city. I know that someday I'm going to stand before my Maker and have to atone for what I did for the least of these. And for me, the homeless and those that are in need are the least of these. And so I think that is our obligation to treat them with respect as well and find a way to meet the needs of everybody that's residing in our county.
Okay, Vivian?
That's most honorable, Lily. Thank you. My question to you is, were you aware that on the coming week, there is on the agenda for the County Board of Commissioners the discussion of hiring an economic development officer, and how do you feel about that? And there was mention of someone in the audience that I think probably knows about this, sharing it between the county and the city, which is a disaster waiting to happen, if you ask me. And it's somewhat like So Ready, who works for Jackson County and gets people for there, but nobody for here. My question to you is, how do you feel about the economic development officer? And A, and B, is there anybody, or would you, support having somebody with their finger on the pulse of the budget of Josephine County? If it's not in the budget, it doesn't get spent. And that's the big problem we run up against here, is, they just spend the money. And then they figure out, it wasn't in the budget. Oh, well, big surprise. And it's supposed to be signed off ahead of time. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't.
I'll try to take those one at a time. You might have to remind me if I forget. I'll start with the budget one. My department is a department that was given money through the Justice Reinvestment Act, $1.2 million over a biennium, and it came after the budget was approved. And that's money that was in turn divvied up to other agencies in the community. It paid for 10 jail beds, it paid for transitional housing, it paid for victims advocates, it paid for a district attorney's position, and it helped with transition, one was transition housing, the other was transition services. And so I think that there's circumstances when money comes in after the budget that you have to deal with that, and I think the right way to deal with it is what the charter says, and that's a supplemental budget hearing where it's addressed and the budget is amended, and then it has a time for public comment, and it can move forward through the proper channels that already exist. As far as economic development, I think we absolutely need an advocate that is out there, as others have said before me tonight, that brings people into Josephine County and says this is a place that you want to live. We have the beauty like no other, we have the tax rate like no other, and we have people willing to work, and we have high school kids who want to have jobs. So having somebody who advocates for our community is a good thing. What I am aware of is why the city and county ended up in partnership the way they did, and that's because when the issue came up before the county commissioners, they said we have no funds. And so we will help with providing office space and this and that, and you guys pay for the position because we don't want to pay for a salary. And so the city and the county ended up trying to work in partnership, and there's currently, they have paid together for an economic development plan to come up with a strategy for how do we best meet the needs of our community. One thing that is certain is the economy of the city and the county and the city of Cave Junction and the county are intertwined. People come in and out of all of these places together. I mean, city of Grants Pass residents is what, 35,000? But in the daytime swells to 55,000 from all the people from the county coming into work. So if there's jobs that come into the city, that means there's jobs for people in the county to get. Same as if there's jobs out here that are created, there's, you know, more opportunity to be spent at all the businesses in the community. We want the entire area to be doing well. For instance, there was one building in Grants Pass, First Community Credit Union. They invested $6.5 million to restore that building on Harbeck, and they created 20 new jobs. $6.5 million increased assessed value of that building. Well, since every building and business and home in Grants Pass, Cave Junction, Williams, Murphy, everywhere in Josephine County pays a Josephine County tax, that city business increased their value, meant the county got more taxes. So you see how they're connected. It benefits all of us if the economy is improving. I do not believe, as has been said before, that having one work for two, you can't have two masters. It's kind of like you're going to be torn. You're going to be your loyalty here, your loyalty there. I'm not for having that divided.
Okay, thank you very much, Lily Morgan. No more time for any more questions. Now, as I had said before, that there would be a question and answer period afterward as time allows. Time does not allow, unfortunately. We have burned up all the time that I have on this building. I'm probably going to have an hour and a half or so to break this all down. So I appreciate you guys coming out. And awesome. That's killer. Okay. Okay, let me I gotta kill this stream here. Oh, no problem. Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thanks, man. Nice to meet you. Yeah, it's good to meet all these people, you know. Yes, exactly. Okay, now I got to kill the stream.